Forget the myth of stable, polite Canada. It's a lie. Beneath the surface, the entire country is suffering a catastrophic failure that everyone is terrified to admit. Canada is sprinting off an economic cliff, and there is absolutely no safety net. The housing market, mass immigration, and resource wealth, the very pillars of the nation, are turning toxic simultaneously. The smart ones have already fled, and ordinary people are drowning in debt. The Canadian dream is officially dead, and the nightmare is just beginning. Only one question remains now. Are you ready for the truth? Let's start with a number that should keep every single person in this country awake at night. 176.7%. That is the ratio of household debts to disposable income in Canada as of late 2025. Let that sink in for a second. For every single dollar a Canadian earns, after taxes, after the government takes its cut, they owe nearly $1.80 to creditors. This isn't just high, it's astronomical. It's the highest in the G7. It makes American household debt look like pocket change. In the US, after the 2008 crash, consumers deleveraged. They paid off their debts. In Canada, they doubled down. For 15 years, Canada built its entire economy on a lie. The lie was simple. You can get rich just by selling houses to each other. Cheap money fueled a massive real estate bubble that convinced millions of Canadians they were wealthy geniuses because their paper assets went up. But here is the dirty secret about paper wealth. It doesn't pay the bills when interest rates bite, and the bite is coming right now. In 2025 and 26, millions of mortgages are up for renewal. These people aren't renewing at the cute little 1.9% rates of the pandemic era. They are renewing at rates that have doubled, sometimes even tripled. They are looking at a payment shock that is going to suck billions of dollars out of the real economy. Think about a family in the Toronto suburbs. Their mortgage payment is about to go up by $1,500 or $2,000 a month. That is money that was going to be spent at local restaurants. It was going to buy a new car. It was going to support small businesses. Now, that money is going straight to the bank, just to keep the roof overhead. The wealth effect is reversing. When people feel house rich, they spend money. They take vacations, they buy boats. When they feel house poor, they hoard, they panic. Canada is entering a consumer recession that no amount of government stimulus can fix because the consumer isn't just broke. They are leveraged to the hilt. The banks are settling aside billions for bad loans. They see the storm clouds, but the average Canadian is still walking around like it's 2019, completely unprepared for the financial hurricane that is about to make landfall. Drop a comment below. Are you feeling the squeeze of these mortgage renewals yet? And smash that subscribe button right now because we are about to expose the fake growth lie that the government tried to desperately hide. You think 176% debt is scary? You haven't seen anything yet. Debt is just the smoke. What comes next is the fire. There is a hidden cancer eating the Canadian economy that explains exactly why you feel poorer every single year, even if you're working harder. But debt? Debt is just a symptom. The disease, the cancer that is eating away at the economy is productivity. And in 2025, Canada's productivity crisis has gone from worrying to catastrophic. This is the stuff that actually determines how rich a country is, and Canada is failing. While the United States is seeing an AI-driven boom, while they are building factories and investing billions in technology, Canada is stagnating. The gap in output per worker between Canada and the US is now wider than it has been in decades. Why? Because Canadian businesses stopped investing. Why would you build a factory or invest in R&D or try to invent a new technology when you can just flip real estate? Why innovate when you are protected by government-sanctioned oligopolies in telecom and banking? They have created a nation of rent seekers, not innovators. They pay some of the highest cell phone bills in the world. They pay ridiculous banking fees. They have protected industries that have no incentive to get better, faster, or cheaper. The result is a brutal, silent decline on the standard of living. If you strip away the population boom, if you just look at how much wealth they create per person, Canada is getting poorer every single year. They are in a per capita recession that has lasted for years. The GDP might look like it's growing, but that's a mirage. It's fake growth. It's growth driven by adding more bodies to the pile, not by creating more value. They are becoming a second-tier economy attached to a first-world neighbor. The Americans are getting richer, investing in the future and building the next generation of tech. Canada is getting poorer, servicing debt and wondering why groceries cost so much. This brings us to the most controversial, explosive issue in the country right now. It's a trap that millions in Canada are in right now, and escaping is almost impossible. For years, the government's strategy was simple: growth through immigration. Open the doors, bring in millions of people and the economy will grow. And on paper, it worked. Total GDP went up. But here is the breaking point. Here is where the math falls apart. Infrastructure didn't keep up. In 2024 and 25, Canada added massive numbers of people, over 1 million a year at the peak. But how many households did they build? Maybe 200,000? You don't need a PhD in economics to see the problem here. When you increase the demand for housing by 5 times or 10 times the supply, you don't get growth. You get a humanitarian crisis. They are seeing 20 international students living in a single basement in Brampton. They are seeing emergency wait room times stretching into days. They are seeing traffic gridlock that rivals third-world megasites. The social contract is breaking. The promise of Canada was always, if you work hard, you can afford a home and a good life. The promise, it has been shredded. For the younger generation, homeownership isn't just hard. It's a mathematical impossibility. And now the backlash has arrived. The consensus on immigration, which used to be Canada's superpower, it's crumbling. But the government is trapped. If they cut immigration significantly, the fake GDP growth disappears and the recession is revealed for everyone to see. If they keep it high, the housing and infrastructure crisis deepens. There is no way out. They forced themselves into a corner and the floor is still wet. In fact, there are many more scary monsters on the horizon. You want to know the scariest chart in Canadian economics? It's not inflation. It's not housing prices. It's the capital flows. In the first 5 months of 2025 alone, roughly $62 billion in capital fled Canada. This isn't just foreign investors pulling out. That would be bad enough. This is Canadians moving their money to the US. It's Canadian pension funds, the ones meant to secure their retirement, investing billions in American infrastructure, American stocks, American real estate, all because they see no return in Canada. The oil and gas sector, which used to be the absolute engine of the Canadian economy, is being strangled. Regulatory uncertainty, the threat of emission caps, and a hostile investment climate have chased billions of dollars south of the border. Look at the contrast. The United States became the world's largest oil and gas producer. They capitalized on energy security. They built LNG terminals. Canada? They debated. They delayed. They left their resources in the ground. They are missing out on the biggest energy boom of the century. The message from the global markets is clear. Canada is closed for business. The capital is going to Texas. It's going to Florida. It's going to places where they build things. It is leaving Ontario and BC, where they tax things. The money is gone, but that's not even the worst part. What I'm about to show you is the final nail in the coffin, a tragedy that guarantees Canada cannot recover. It is a doom loop that is literally stealing Canada's future and handing it to the Americans for free. You need to hear the math on this because it affects every single young person in the country. Quickly hit that like button if you think Canada is heading in the wrong direction, and let's uncover the next disaster. Finally, they have to talk about the tragedy that seals the deal. The absolute nail in the coffin, the brain drain in Canada. It's not just the investment capital leaving, it's the human capital, it's the talent. Let's put you in the shoes of a 24-year-old top-tier software engineer graduating from University of Waterloo. You are brilliant, you are ambitious, and you have the world at your feet. You have two offers on the table. Offer 1. You stay in Toronto, you make 90,000 Canadian dollars, and after the government takes its cut, that shrinks fast. You look at the housing market, and a tear-down semi-detached house costs $1.5 million. You realize you will be renting a shoebox condo until you're 40, effectively locking yourself out of the middle-class life their parents enjoyed. Offer 2. You go to Austin, Texas, or Seattle, or Raleigh. You make $150,000 US. That is nearly 210,000 Canadian dollars. You pay significantly lower taxes. You can buy a beautiful brand new 4-bedroom house for $600,000. You have disposable income. You have a future. It's not even a choice. It's an IQ test, and they are passing it by leaving. And here is the kicker. The Canadian taxpayer paid for that. They are subsidizing their world-class degrees with their tax dollars, training them up and then handing them over to the US economy for free. They're effectively running a charity for American tech companies. This creates a terrifying doom loop. As the high earners, the future tax base, leave, the revenue pot shrinks. The burden falls harder and harder on the people who remain. Taxes have to go up to pay for services for an aging population, which just drives even more talent away. Canada is slowly becoming a massive nursing home for the elderly and a holding pen for low-wage temporary workers, while the productive, innovative middle class heads south to build their future elsewhere. Canada's economy is not just slowing down or cooling off, it's hitting a massive, unmovable structural wall. They need to stop pretending this is just a cycle. The staggering 176% debt ratio, the total collapse in productivity, the housing shortage that has become a humanitarian crisis, and the massive capital flight. These are not separate, isolated issues. The real estate model is officially exhausted. For 15 years, they tricked themselves into believing they were rich. But you cannot build a serious G7 economy on the foundations of selling overpriced condos to each other. That isn't an economy, it's a pyramid scheme. It works for a while, it makes everyone feel smart, and then, inevitably, it explodes. The population trap is now binding. The math has finally caught up to the ideology. You simply cannot add 1 million people a year without building the roads, the hospitals, and the homes to support them. Canada's breaking point is America's strategic opportunity. This is a zero-sum game, and they are losing. The US is actively absorbing Canada's investment capital, it is absorbing Canada's best talent, it is absorbing Canada's market share. The gap between the two economies isn't just a gap anymore, it is widening into an unbridgeable chasm. The data doesn't lie. The looming mortgage renewals, the falling GDP per capita, the exodus of foreign money. They all scream the same story. Canada's economy just hit the breaking point. The era of polite stagnation is over. The crisis is here. If this deep dive into Canada's economic reality shocked you, click that like button. Drop a comment on whether you think the housing bubble will pop in 2026 and subscribe because the next video reveals even more secrets that will blow your mind away.